On this episode, I'm going to help you figure out how much to charge for consulting and speaking gigs. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Carlos here. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk, my all-new series in which I interview interesting guests in the world of business and answer your social media questions. And the question that I keep getting asked both at conferences as well as online is, how much and when do you know to charge for things like speaking engagements and consulting gigs and influencer gigs? Which leads me to this week's question.
I understand pricing theories and time value principles, but I'm looking for actual advice of how to know what to charge for consulting or speaking. Did you ask for help from mentors or colleagues, or was it simply trial and error? Is there a resource you use to help you determine market rate fees? I realize many variables come to play, but just curious your process when starting out.
Mike, thank you so much for asking that question, because that is the question that many of us have wrestled with at one point or another. And even I myself to this day still somewhat wrestle with, because I hear that my homies in the industry are charging all this money for things like speaker fees or influencer gigs. So here's what I'm going to go ahead and tell you and anyone else out there that has had this question weighing on their mind. You have to do a lot of pro bono and free work before you can ever expect to collect a dime based on the work that you feel has value. Early on, back in 2008, when I got started on this path of social media marketing and public speaking, back when I had Jobs Direct USA, which is my startup, one of my mentors back then told me that I would have to do 40 free speaking engagements before I could ever collect a dime on public speaking. And she was so incredibly right. And the reason why is because you have to actually build up a portfolio. You have to actually show that you're a subject matter expert or thought leader and you have the chops. And a lot of this has to do with just getting yourself out there. So my advice to anyone out there, if you want to be on stages and get paid for that work, is start off small. If you are an aspiring content creator and you want to work with brands, maybe do some trade where they give you some free product and exchange, you do some demos or some reviews and you put some content out there. You have to do a lot of this before you can get to the next level and before you can get things like sponsorships and such. And I'll share with you an example. I was in Miami a couple weeks ago speaking at Hispanicize to a group of creators, and the same question came up. And I looked at a creator and she asked me just point blank, how much should I charge for working with brands? And I said to her, how much do you think you're worth? And it took her a minute, and she went ahead and she threw a number out there. And I said to her, if you think that you're worth $1,000 for an influencer gig, throw $1,000 out there. I cannot tell you how much you're worth. I cannot tell you how much to charge. What I can advise you to do is get some experience under your belt, so when a brand approaches you about working for them, you can actually show them what you've done for a multitude of brands and then throw a number out there. If it's 500 for an influencer activation, if it's 1,000, if it's 10,000, throw the number out there. If you're going to go ahead and get a company to bite, then ultimately you're worth that amount to someone. If they don't bite, then you're really not worth that amount to them or to anyone else. But knowing your own worth is really at the heart of this. It's having a number in mind, working around that number, and realistically, you're going to get told no a lot throughout your journey. And as you're told no, then accept that your worth is really ultimately what someone is willing to pay you. But once again, you have to go ahead and start small, start humble, and just start getting the experience. Without the experience, which is what people pay for, then all you have is just enthusiasm and a few numbers on social media. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Real Talk. A big thanks to INC International Concepts, available exclusively at Macy's, for sponsoring the style that you see here on Real Talk. Thank you to the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center. Be sure to add them at the center on social media. And until next time, keep those questions coming on IG, Twitter, even drop them here in the comments below. Peace.